Alright guys, it's Alex here from ONSTREET Garage. We are back in the landcruiser today, the 1HZ with its stage 2 mods. We've upgraded the turbo. We've gone for a Kinugawa 16G, which has a smaller rear housing, and this wastegate goes to 12 pounds, so a little bit more boost than what we were running before. And I've got a fresh set of injectors to go with it. The ones that came out were pretty old and tired looking, so I'm hoping this will make a decent difference, as they were definitely ready to go. So the purpose of today's test is a back-to-back on the stock DTS turbo and the old injectors. We're going to be testing fuel consumption again. We're going to be testing EGTs on the highway, especially up hills climbing. And we're also going to be looking at the 0 to 100. Now last time I think we did it in 18 seconds or something horrible like that. So I am hoping that, you know, if that improves, then obviously our general drivability and performance day-to-day improves as well. The next steps on this car is I have a front mount intercooler at home from PDI. I'm going to be putting that in the next couple of days. I've got a new fan for the engine as well, so I'm going to pop that in, and we'll do another back-to-back test. It'll be pretty short and quick just to compare those main figures on the hill runs and everything and see if we can get a bit more of a performance improvement again. If this is the sort of thing that interests you, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I think it's something like 10% of my viewers are subscribed. It helps me build the channel, it helps me build more interesting videos like this, so make sure you get onto it. I really appreciate it, and we'll get straight into this. I'm going to go fill the car up now, and we're going to jump straight on the highway and have a look at these back-to-back comparisons. Alrighty, tanks are full and we're heading to the highway. Today's going to be very much a short and sweet compared to the last one we did of this. I did lots of talking in between our hill climbs. So this one, I'm just going to turn the cameras off once we get some baselines on the highway doing the speed limit, and I'll come back to you guys at each of the main hill climbs and the 0 to 100. So I'll see you again very soon. Okay, so our first test is on the entry of the highway here. So we go to drop back a gear. Anyone who's watched the last video, you can already see we're hitting boost like we should be at these sort of revs, and the revs and the EGTs are staying so much lower. So you can see here in comparison to last time, we're about 50 degrees cooler and we came on boost way nicer. So massive tick of approval here. 10, we got up there super comfortably. EGTs are at 300-ish, just over 300. So from my opinion, this is already a massive win. It doesn't look like that's going to change, so I will jump off and I'll see you at the next hill. Okay, so we're at our first downhill, coming up to our first uphill. And I've got to say, there is already a very noticeable difference to EGTs and the general smoothness of the driving. The turbo is quicker to boost up and it sits on low boost a lot quicker. The old one used to sit, you know, at around 1 PSI when you just roll on the throttle, or 0, whereas this is straight up to like 3 and 4 pound. We've still got overdrive on at this point, and we'll treat it the same as last time, that if we get up around the 500 mark, we'll let that go, let it cool back down. But look, first feelings here, the car feels way more powerful coming up this hill. We're still not even at 400 degrees yet. We're maintaining 105 k's an hour up the hill, so we're not actually having to drop off at this stage. We're now down to 100 k's an hour, still got the overdrive locked. I mean, you can see those EGTs, they're climbing but so slow compared to last time. So I'm going to unlock the overdrive here just to give it a bit of breathing space. We're doing 95, 96 k's an hour, so we've slowed down a little bit, but not that much to be honest, and we didn't even get to 500 degrees, so. And you can see the overdrive doesn't have as much of an effect as it did before. When I used to do that, the EGTs would skyrocket straight up. And that's our first hill done. We're back up to 100 k's an hour. So from my perspective, that's a massive win already. I'm going to turn it off. See you at the next hill. Alright guys, before we get to the next hill, I just wanted to quickly show you something. It's where I'm noticing the biggest difference so far compared to the old setup. So on very slight uphills, like we're just entering onto now, with the old setup, it would sit on 0 boost. It would not spool up at all. And EGT started to climb very quickly and the car just felt like it was labouring when it shouldn't be. if you have a look now, I mean, we're at 9.5 pound of boost. The EGTs are nice and low, and the car is just cruising up these, and it feels very effortless in comparison to what it did before. So we're only just into this test, but for me, one of the biggest differences is those slight inclines. We're getting on boost early, which is that smaller rear housing, so that's a massive win. Okay, so Sydney siders or Central Coasties are probably know this is a pretty familiar site we're coming up to now. This is the Brooklyn Bridge, so it's probably a good way to give you some context of the sort of hills that I'm driving up, and you could probably even come here and drive them yourself if you wanted to see how your car compared. So we're currently doing 105 k's an hour again. So we're going to roll up this hill, and it'll be the same thing as what we've done previously. I'm going to try and maintain 100 k's an hour up the hill with overdrive on. If it starts to get too hot, then we're going to unlock overdrive or turn off overdrive and just see if we can stabilize those temps. Look, we're at 380 degrees now, or 370, yeah, 380, which for me feels like a great starting point compared to last time. My speed's actually creeping up a bit there, we're doing 110. So now we're back at 105. We've got nice boost running. And I guess a good point to make is that we still don't have this tuned, and I think a tune set up more for touring and towing will improve this again, because the fuel hasn't been touched in God knows how long. But those differences, there's no denying it, right? We're at 430 degrees. We're still at 105, so we're holding speed, no worries at all. The car feels very comfortable. Halfway up that hill. And again, this biggest difference is just that boost. This turbo is so happy to just get up on boost early and keep the car moving. The old turbo almost felt like too little too late. By the time the car started to labour and slow down, that was when boost started rolling on, and it was just fighting a losing battle. So this is a very positive experience so far. And look, if you're thinking about going to one of these turbos, I have actually done a video just a few days before this one talking about the Kinugawa turbo I put on. There are pros and cons. They advertise it as a bolt-on kit, but as you'll see in my video, it's not friggin' bolt-on. The only thing that was bolt-on was the exhaust manifold. And I sort of had a feeling that would happen. But if you're interested in seeing how the turbo went on, it was very much DIY. I did 90% of it at home and had it drivable. But it's definitely not a bolt-on kit like they advertise in capitals on their website. I did actually email them and mention that and talk about it, no reply, so do with that what you will. If you're looking for a true bolt-on experience, this is not it. However, as a affordable upgrade, it's pretty good. I don't know how long it's going to last. Obviously, you'll see more of it because you'll be subscribed to the channel and you'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely something to consider. So I'm going to switch this off. I'll see you again at the next hill. Okay, so same as last time, we've collected our baselines on a couple of uphill runs on the way down. We're going to exit off, we're going to do a U-turn, and on that same on-ramp where we were last time, I'm going to run the 0 to 100 and see if it's any better. So last time, I'm going to run the two videos side by side. It was the only time we managed to trip the EGT alarm. It went over 550 degrees and it was bloody slow. I think from memory it was around 18 seconds. I'll put whatever the time was up here. But I'm hoping we can beat that time, and I've got a feeling we might not even set the EGT alarm off this time. So when we're turned around and there, I'll set us back up and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so same as last time, we've done the U-turn. We're just rolling up on the on-ramp now. Doesn't look like there's anyone behind us. So same thing, I'm gonna get off the downhill section. I'm not gonna do any stalling up of the gearbox or anything funny like that. We're just gonna go foot to the floor. Hopefully we get a gap in traffic. We will not be breaking any laws. It's a 110 zone here, so that's all good. Okay, so we're stopped. We got no cars around us. We will go from now. Still super slow. EGTs are still racing. We're at 70, 80, 90, 100. So that was actually 105. I forgot that the speedo's out. So what I'll do is I will just cut it back to 95. But actually, no, don't worry about it. We did the same last time, I'm sure of it. So yeah, it's a 0 to 105 test. The EGTs were much better behaved on that. I don't think we got anywhere near 550. So this turbo's a win with the injectors for sure. So now I'm just going to cruise it back up to the next hill. I'll probably talk over some of that footage as well, and we'll just speak about what the 0 to 100 was like. It didn't feel much faster. It felt like it got on boost much earlier, but it didn't feel faster. So I'll see you at the next hill and we'll keep going. Well, this is actually perfect timing. We're at the next hill, and the good thing about this one is that 0 to 100 we just did has got the EGTs up a little bit off the baseline. So we're doing 105 again. I feel like I've been doing a lot more of 105 k's an hour than 100 as compared to the last video. So I think some of that is just how much easier it is to do that speed limit now, but also it's just not getting hot. So we're not too worried about that. I have a feeling that when I put the boat on, the boat weighs, I think, just on a ton with the trailer, maybe just over. I think that's gonna push us back up into the territory of EGTs and 550s. If something you're interested in seeing the landcruiser tow with a boat on the back and a bit of weight, let me know. I might even do that as a back-to-back when everything's done, just to make sure the car is as safe as possible. I'm doing a run down the south coast over Christmas with the boat, so it might be a good opportunity to put that out there and see how it behaves. Alright guys, we're on our return lap. We're coming back up over the Brooklyn Bridge again. So this is one of those longer hills. I'm actually going to get out of the left lane now. I've got a little bit of confidence that we can maintain speed up here without slowing everyone else down. So doing 100 k's an hour. We started at slightly warmer EGTs, but we're doing 105 kilometers an hour now. And I'm just going to do the same thing. We'll try and maintain around 100 k's an hour. If we can do a little bit more like we are now, it's a bonus. So I can hear the turbo, whereas I didn't used to be able to hear it on the old one. We're maintaining nice boost. Our EGTs have started climbing up, but a lot slower than what they used to. We're heading into a steeper part of the hill. I'm still doing 105 k's an hour. This is a first for me. I'm in the right lane and I've got people moving out of my way. We're actually gonna have to drop down a little bit lower because it's raining, so I've dropped back down to 90 k's an hour now, which is actually an interesting test because I've just lowered those revs, which is not probably in the ideal range for this car, but wow. Those EGTs are just night and day on what they were before. And look, I know I had some bloke trying to roast me about I'm not a professional mechanic, how can you give opinions, or give advice, I think was the words he used. Don't misinterpret what I'm doing here, guys. This is a fun test for me. I'm not a mechanic. I say that all the time, but people don't listen. I'm just doing a simple test here. Everyone knows, professional or not, that drives a diesel forward drive, particularly turbo diesel, EGTs getting high is not good. So if I make a video where we can compare EGTs being better, you can tell me I'm not a professional all you want, and I'd be happy to argue the point, but lower EGTs is better, full stop. So if you want to cry, do it somewhere else, because I'm not interested. We're on part 2 of this hill. The good thing about this one is it gives a chance, again, we cycle that heat up a little bit, but we're doing 90 k's an hour. If I roll on the accelerator, it wants to speed up, which is a nice change. Our EGTs still aren't problematic by any means. We're at 450, so we're getting closer. And just to confirm, I'm using the same EGT probe, the same gauge, and the dump pipe is all the same. So our readings haven't changed. We're getting proper back-to-back here. My tire pressures haven't changed. The only thing that's different is the weather. But our intake temps, which is just a sensor in the air box, it's not in the intercooler pipes, that's just showing that our intake temps are very similar to what they were last time. So we've just crested the hill. We're moving back into the 100 kilometer an hour zone. And our EGTs are just night and day. Very happy to see that. So again, I'm gonna jump off here. I'll see you at the next hill. We're going to fill the car back up and then I'll meet you in the garage and we'll just run through the numbers and talk about what happened last time versus this time. Okay everyone, last hill, last test. We're starting at 110 k's an hour. We got cars ahead of us, so I'm not sure I'll be able to maintain the speed limit, unfortunately. People do 80 k's an hour in the right lane. But yep, there you go. We've maintained 100 k's an hour up the hill. We didn't even crack 400 degrees on the EGTs. This is an open and close as far as I'm concerned. And I don't want to discount how important it is to change things like injectors. I know the new turbo made most of this difference, but new injectors for sure helped. The guy who did them for me, he showed me the old ones, and I think 4 of them looked like they'd been heat cycled pretty heavily. They had like a hot sort of, like the metal had been burned around them, which is something that's important to note, that it was well and truly due to be done. So yeah, anyone who's thinking about changing their DTS turbo or one of those brands that does big laggy turbos, from my perspective, crazy not to. If you got the money, absolutely do it. This car is already transformed and this is only the first stage of what we're doing. So I'm going to get back to the servo where I filled up last time round. Then I'll get into the garage and we'll look at hard numbers. So just on our way back to the servo, there is a couple of caveats I'll mention. So our ambient temperatures outside, I think they're pretty similar to last time, but they might be a little bit different. The only other variable that I have to allow for is I actually had the air conditioning on its lowest setting with the demister going for this whole thing. So if anything, it's probably using a fraction more fuel, but I don't think it'll be enough to make any major difference. So when we get back and run the numbers, we'll see how that looks. Okay, so final thoughts on how the car went today with the new turbo. I think probably the most surprising thing to me was that the 0 to 100 time was the same. The car feels like it makes more power, but I guess it's just a matter of the power's more evenly spread now. And maybe there's a difference sort of from mid-range forward, but 0 to 100s were exactly the same. I suppose the positive from that, last time the EGT alarm went off at about 70 k's an hour and right through the range. This time we were 65 degrees cooler at the top end, so obviously on sustained runs, the car is performing way better, which is primarily what I want. I want it to do well on the highway if we strap the boat on and do that sort of thing. So speaking about EGTs, whilst I know they're not the be all and end all, it's great that they were a lot lower. On average, throughout the drive, I saw about 50 degrees lower, and the best I saw was about 80 degrees lower in a couple of spots where it was sort of foot on the accelerator a bit harder, trying to gain speed up hills or maintain speed up hills, and there was a load. So that was really good to see. So like I said, with the power delivery, it was very interesting. The car actually, it felt faster, but probably not so much faster as it felt smoother. It felt so much smoother. So boost coming on quicker and eliminating that lag has sort of filled a really nice gap. And the car just feels, I feel a lot more confident in the car now. So I think that was a big win. It's transformed the way the car feels. I'd say the biggest win was probably the fuel consumption. So as I mentioned earlier, for this test, I had the air conditioner on just to run the demister, as it was a little bit, we got some light rain outside whilst we're doing the test. So even with that aircon on, the last test we were about 16.3 litres per 100 Ks. And keep in mind that we drove the exact same route. I think ambient temperature was 2 degrees difference outside, so not really much of a difference. Same amount of fuel, same load, everything was the same. So we went from 16.3 litres down to 13.1. Now that's about 20% different, which is friggin' huge. And my guess is that that has as much to do with the turbo as it does with the injectors. So again, lower EGTs and that lower fuel consumption are just massive wins. Keeping the car long term, a 20% reduction in fuel, who wouldn't want that? So again, really happy. And those numbers overall, even just getting 13.1 litres per 100 with drawers in the back, with tools and a few bits and pieces, a big dual zone fridge with a drop slide, which is pretty heavy, bigger tires, a steel bull bar now, all those things add up. So to have numbers like that, I think is awesome. And I have a feeling that once we get the intercooler and the tune done, we should be able to push that even lower. But at 13 litres per 100, I'm extremely happy with it. So what we'll do next is I'm gonna head down the coast. It's Christmas, so we're taking a break. I'm gonna take the boat with me and I'm gonna try and collect some numbers again. So we'll see what EGTs go like, we'll see how fuel consumption goes towing. And then in the new year, I'm super excited. We're gonna be back and bigger than ever. I've got the Chaser here. I've been super slack on it. The manual is going to go in. I just wanted to get the landcruiser ready for our holidays. The landcruiser is going to get resprayed, and we've got a bunch of trips planned to sort of get out camping or four-wheel driving. So we'll document a bit of that as well to show you guys where we like to go. And we'll probably even sneak some fishing content in there. Me and my fiance are both fishing mad, so you might see a little bit of that as well. And I also just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's supported the channel. It's been so cool to be able to interact with so many people and be supported by so many people. This is really what I love doing, and in the last couple of months I've really had a chance to dive into the landcruiser especially and get a lot of work done to the car and share with you guys what I'm doing, and hopefully saving you some money or some time and effort on things. So a massive thank you. I hope you all have an amazing holiday. We'll be back in the new year, ready to go, better than ever. The Land Cruiser I've almost had for a year, so I'm going to do a 1 year review on that. We'll compare what it is now compared to what it was when I bought it. So thanks everyone, stay safe, and we'll see you all in the new year.